In this video, we're doing three things. We're going to be talking about the most in-demand automations to be selling today and the ones that actually make money. Then we're going to be talking about where to sell them, and I'm going to be giving you the exact blueprint so that you can take these automations and go ahead and sell them. Let's dive into it right now. All of these automations are going to be built out on three platforms. It's either going to be N8N, it's going to be make.com, or it's going to be Go High Level. Before I tell you what these automations are, I want to showcase with you where you can actually go to sell these automations. So the first thing that I want to bring up here is Upwork, because Upwork is a great place to get started, even if you have no marketing experience. You don't know Google ads, you don't know Facebook ads, you don't want to invest 2 years into SEO, you can come over to Upwork and start selling pretty much today. So we have listings like this, which is a make.com expert, or this, create a make.com automation. If you just type in automation, you get about 5,000 people that are looking for this, and this changes every single week. This recycles all the time. The budgets are not always going to be the same here, but what you can do is you can come over and you can say, hey, I want to make at least $50 USD per hour, and on top of that, I only want to work with clients that pay like on a fixed rate, $1,000+ and there's still tons of these people out there that are looking for these, and this changes all the freaking time. I would be very surprised if you could get through all of these people and reach out to every single one of them before this resets. Let's dive into which automations we're going to be showcasing today. If you guys like anything here and you want to get it absolutely for free, there will be links in the description to other videos, and in those videos there's going to be all of the blueprints for free for you to download. Let's get into it right now. The first one is going to be a RAG system. So essentially what RAG stands for is retrieval augmented generation. Now you can build this in N8N, or if you want, you can also build this in make.com, and I have blueprints for free for both of them. They're going to be in the description below, but let me explain what this means. So essentially think about a chatbot here, okay? And with this chatbot, it is trained on the history of your company. So conventionally, what would happen is you'd hire sales reps, and those sales reps would go out and reply to emails, text messages, and all forms of communication. But with a system like this, you can think about it like an AI employee that's trained on every single touch point in your company's history, every email, text message, every standard operating procedure, every document. And then it takes that information, and when somebody asks a question, it finds the most relevant response to send back to them. So for this example, I say something like, hey, what company is this? And then it responds back by being like, hey, this is our company here, djang.ca. And then I follow up with another question being like, hey, can you tell me the pricing? And it says between $6,000 to $2,000, depending on the event type, duration, and specific services. So it actually takes it a step further and mentions that it depends on multiple factors. And then it says, hey, you should book an appointment on my calendar here because this is a appointment setting bot. The next thing is I follow up by being like, hey, what services are included? And it says a variety of DJ and photography options for events, including, and then it breaks it down, right? So this is kind of a great way or great automation to sell people, because at the end of the day, let's say that somebody inquires on your a business's website at 10 p.m. on Friday, right? They might not have sales reps coming back till Monday. That's a lot of money they're leaving on the table if they don't reply to those people fast. So with a system like this, they can set appointments essentially immediately so that they don't have to let the lead slip through the cracks. And they can just book appointments so much faster. Now, this particular automation, I just sold for about $5,000 up front with a recurring payment model every single month. So there's a lot of money to be made in a system like this, right? And you can just take the blueprints and start selling it for yourself. The next thing that I want to talk about here is this employee recruitment automation that I built. I charge one of my clients, I think it's like $3,000 to $4,000 recurring every single month for this. And so what this does is it just helps them recruit people, right? Take my company, for example. We have thousands of people applying. And so what we're trying to do is filter through this and get the golden nuggets, or the needle in a haystack. And it's not easy to find the best talent out there, and this is like a full-time job. So if you can set up an automation where you essentially break down the recruitment process into literally clicking one of two buttons or three buttons, then it's going to save them a lot of time and a lot of headache. So a system like this which is in the description below, does a couple things. They automatically get rejected if they don't meet the qualifications. So when somebody comes in from Indeed, okay, we're literally getting people from Indeed.com, and it automatically enters them into the system. Thank you, Indeed, for verifying that I'm not a robot there. So it automatically pulls people that apply to jobs through Indeed, okay? And it's going to pull them into the sheet. And if they don't meet the qualifications, they get rejected. If they do, then they're gonna be sent questions, and just like standard basic questions, like for example, I don't know, could be like, you know, what's your experience? How many years do you have? Things like that. And then if they meet those questions, you just do a once over, it takes 2 seconds, you check off the box, and then they're screened and they're good to go. And then the next thing is you might want to send them a test being like, hey, if you're a writer, write me a blog post. If you're a photo editor, I want you to edit 20 pictures. If you're an automation expert, I want you to automate a system for me to know that you're competent enough to do what I need you to do. If they pass the test, then they schedule an interview. If they pass the first interview, you can schedule a second interview, so on and so forth, all the way until sending them a contract and adding them into Slack. So this is something that can save a ton of frickin' time. Like this personally saved me when I was like at the peak of hiring, probably 2 to 3 hours of my time every single day. And so for that reason, this is a great solution. And I get people reaching out to me all the time for me to build this out for them. And so this is what it essentially looks like. When you effectively say, hey, I want to interview this person, it's going to automatically send out that email. So if we circle back here, if we're like, hey, we want to interview somebody here, as soon as you check that box, it's going to send off an interview request here, right? Then it's going to allow them to book an appointment automatically, and then send out confirmation emails and text messages letting them know that we're going to be jumping on a call with them very shortly. Even and then afterwards, if they pass that first interview and you check off the you know, the box here being like, hey, they're good to go, then they can schedule a follow-up email. And this is effectively how this works all throughout the process, from screening to testing to interviews. And the reason why this is important is because a lot of people just drop off the face of the earth, or you need to follow up with them multiple times. Maybe emails land in the junk folder or whatever, right? So a system like this is going to streamline the process to maximize the amount of high quality talent that you're getting into your sales or into your funnel every single day. The next thing that I want to talk about is intelligent document processing. Again, I closed a $5,000 deal on this, and effectively what this does is it just takes documents. For example, you can take a look at this document here. This is just a generic PDF that we send off to our clients, right, when they book our services, and we're turning this into text, right? So PDF, first of all, into text. And then from PDF to text, we can do so many different things with it. We can use ChatGPT here to automatically pull out all the line items. So for example, if we circle back to this, what we're effectively doing is we're saying, hey, I want to pull out every single line item here, which is a lot, and I want to automatically enter them into a Google Sheet just like this, right? And so this is obviously very time consuming, but this can be fully automated. It's one of those boring things where you're like, okay, this is like not super flashy or super cool, but it's one of those things that just saves a lot of time. You don't have to just do it into Google Sheets here, but you can do it into QuickBooks. I have people reaching out and paying me all the time to build out solutions just like this, because accounting is really boring. Nobody probably in their right mind wants to spend their time, or nobody wakes up on a given day and it's like, you know what, I just can't wait to do accounting. I just can't wait to do it. I've never heard somebody say that in my entire life. Sorry to all the accountants out there, but with something like this, you can automate the process so that they don't have to do it anymore. And for that reason, you're going to save them a lot of time. And so the next automation that I want to talk about here is this Panadoc agreement here. Now, I charge people a couple $1,000s to build this out every single time. And essentially what that looks like is just automating the process of contracts and invoices. If you are a sales heavy company, which a lot of service-based businesses are, because you know they're either a fulfillment heavy company where they have a few clients that are retained over a long period of time, or they're a sales heavy company. Think about real estate or even DJ services where you're always trying to sell new people, right? Then this is going to be super important for you because you depend on sending out contracts. So conventionally what that looks like is, let's take, you know, a sales call like this. You're jumping on a sales call with a client, you're following up, asking tons of questions, building rapport, doing all that you need to do. And then traditionally you have to get off this call and then spend like 30 minutes building out this proposal, which absolutely sucks. Nobody likes doing it. And it's a 30-minute job that can be like procrastinate it out to like 2 hours. And so with something like this, what you can do is you can essentially have a sales call script like this, have a sales pricing script like this. You add in the total. You can just customize the pricing. Let's say they want 4 hours DJ services and they want, I don't know, 3 hours of photo services, and that's it. You can come down, grab the total here, simply add that into the sales call script here. If we just scroll down to like the pricing here, you can just add in the fields from the pricing sheet here. So like literally it's dummy proof. Anyone can do it. They just copy and paste it in. And then as soon as you have the fields here, essentially all you have to do is click the submit button down below here to submit the form. And then as soon as this is submitted, what's going on is a workflow starting based on the form submission, where we grab all the information that we just entered on this contract, like the line items, and then we run it through a PandaDoc or a Make.com scenario like this. You can also do this in N8N, and it essentially takes all of that information and then it pumps it out into a PandaDoc agreement where we send it off immediately to somebody. And it takes like, 30-minute job, condenses it into 2 seconds, and it adds in like 150 customized variables here. And the cool thing is it can also do upsells, discounts, cross-sells, all of that kind of stuff. So it's really, really nice. Now on the flip side of that, as a nice little upsell, usually a lot of people will be like, okay, that's great, but I also need to add this into my accounting system too. So when that contract's paid, you can do things like adding it to QuickBooks or back into the CRM to adjust things, because realistically, when you're dealing with these kind of contracts, things will change and back and forth with clients, and sometimes sales reps will forget to update the CRM. And they'll only update the PandaDoc agreement. So something like this is just making one source of truth where anything that's signed on that PandaDoc agreement is going to automatically update the CRM. In my case, it's Go High Level. And so that's a nice little upsell that you can provide in there as well. And so the next automation that I want to talk about here is effectively lifecycle automation. You can think about this simply like this workflow here. So this is probably the most lucrative automation out there. I charge clients sometimes, I don't know, $20,000, sometimes $10,000. And this is stuff that once you get going can literally last an entire year, 2 years, whatever the case is, right? Because this is where the bean bones is. This is where you can like get in and install yourself in a company and automate every single piece of it. So if you think about like a traditional service-based business, and by the way, this chart is going to change if it's like a e-commerce store or whether it's like a service-based business, but you can do essentially the same thing. Just map out everything that happens. So they get leads from like SEO, Google Ads, Bark, or social media. I'm just going to zoom in here just a bit so you guys can see it a bit better. And essentially they need to turn those web visitors into leads, and then those leads into sales calls, and those sales calls into follow-up appointments, because people usually don't close on the first sales call. Then once they jump on enough appointments, they're either going to say, yes, we're going to move forward, or they're not going to move forward. And so effectively with they're going to sign the contract and pay, right? And this goes all the way down the fulfillment pipeline until the end of the customer lifecycle journey. And so with that being said, you can just automate literally every single part of this. So take this client here, for example. We have somebody filling out a form. So let me explain what this kind of looks like. So they come to our website here, right? Let's just take this website. They landed on here from Google Ads or SEO or whatever, and they fill out the form: first name, last name, email, phone number, message, and then they submit that down below here. We automatically call, text, and email them to get them on a phone call. You can see that here, right? So we had Marilyn here, and we said, hey, you can book an appointment here, or we're going to call them immediately. This call is automated. It automatically happens. The reason why is because if you call somebody within 60 seconds, you increase your conversion rate by 394%. So if you're selling an automation to somebody, saying you can literally get 4 times the return on investment just by this one single automation, and then we're going to stack 60 or 70 automations on top of that, it's a no-brainer for them. And so this is kind of what the customer lifecycle looks like. And then afterwards, we can send them off emails. And these emails can have tons of different stuff to increase sales, like, hey, watch a video of what we do. Hey, here's a proposal. This is kind of what the proposal looks like. This is all custom software, but effectively you can rebuild this and Go High Level. You can rebuild this in whatever it is that you want. And so we do a lot of things like, hey, tell them this is our pricing. This is the difference that we have. This is what we provide that other people don't, and so on and so forth. And it just kind of goes down the page, and you can see a lot of things that we have on here, the main point is that we just try and provide answers before questions arise, because a lot of the time people are going to ask this kind of stuff and it's just, it's replying to the same question over and over and over again. It's better if we just provide it up front so that people can find the information they're looking for. So effectively, it just goes down and down the process. We jumped on the sales call and we can see that we sent a follow-up recap email with tons of information about that. We scheduled another appointment automatically, and then effectively we confirmed that appointment, and so on and so forth. And then this client ended up paying and signing the proposal, and we won the contract, right? And then what happened was, we essentially got the deposit. So almost all of this is 100% automated, right? And so you can just go down this process and automate like literally every single piece of the business. You don't have to start by selling everything up front. What I do with these clients is I jump on calls with them. I say, hey, tell me about your business. Let's walk through it. And I will literally spend about 30 minutes just understanding, okay, what's the first step? You get leads from social media, Bark, Google Ads, SEO. And I'm like, okay, you have a website that you drive them to. They're like, yeah, okay, perfect. On that website, do you have a form, or do you get people calling you? Do you have lead magnets? Do you have a newsletter? Like, how are you getting people in the door? Usually it's a form. And then once they become a new lead, you're probably trying to get them on a sales call. And so we go down this whole list, I map it all out, and then I say, okay, let's start with the highest the highest leverage activity that's going to take the least amount of time to get that early win. Usually that's like this new lead workflow here, because this is where they're spending the most of their time. This is the lifeblood of their business. So we just start automating that. Then we do the sales call, then we do the appointments, then we do the contract signed, then we do the contract paid. And so this is an easy way that you can make over $10,000 doing this, have a long-term client, and you can just keep automating different parts of their business. This is all going to be done in the CRM mostly. You can also use make.com and NNN for this, but this kind of automation usually I do in Go High Level, right? So that's just my 2 cents on that. Lastly, what we can actually, sorry, not the last thing, the second last thing is we can do web scraping. So for example, in this instance, we're helping clients find leads. This is something that I just closed for $900, and this is something you could probably charge a whole lot more than that for, but essentially we're helping clients find Google leads on like places like Google Ads. So for example, Google Maps. So for example, if I do Toronto landscapers, we can automatically scrape all of these results here. So traditionally what a lot of companies will do is they'll go down this list one by one, and they'll find these companies and they'll have to manually send emails or whatever. But in an instance like this, we can automate the process of web scraping all of those leads and then dumping them into a Google Sheet. And you can even send cold email requests out to them. Effectively, this is what it looks like in the Google Sheet. We just put in, the platform we're getting them from, all the names and the websites and all of that kind of stuff. So this is really, really cool. Obviously, just Google Maps is one use case, but you could do so many other things. You could find leads on LinkedIn job posts. If people are hiring like an SEO expert, chances are they're looking for an SEO expert, so you can market your services to them and find people through there. You could find people on Yellow Pages, Google Maps, you could find people on Apollo, you could find people on so many different websites, and you can customize these scrapers as well. The next thing that I want to talk about here, and the final thing that I want to talk about here, is analytic dashboards. So this is usually an upsell, and this is something that I just charge $2,500 for, but you could realistically probably charge like $8,000 to $10,000 for this with the right clientele. But with something like this is actually my own company, but you can give real-time updates on analytics. So take sales reps, for example. This is how many minutes it took our sales reps to reply to leads, right? So this is how much time it took. And then this is how many leads they got. Here's how many quotes they got out. Here's how many contracts signed. Here's how many deposits were actually paid. And then here's the revenue that all of them made. Here's the lead conversion rate. So the lead conversion rate is of the new leads that they got, how many of those actually turned into deposits paid. The call conversion rate is how many of the calls or the quotes they got out turned into deposits paid. And then the average deal size, you can see the totals down here, right? So effectively, that's what we can do here. We can also build out graphs like revenue, quotes, deals, all of that kind of stuff, right? So this is really, really useful stuff. I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting with this, but this is something that pretty much every single company is going to need, but it's one of those things that they don't know that they need until you bring it up. And so that effectively is it, guys. That is the top automations that I would sell pretty much today. The cool thing about all of these is they're not the flashy automations, they're not the hype automations, they're the cool automations that you think people might want. Those are the automations that people actually freaking want. These are the companies that have the money to spend. They're gonna pay you really well, and they're looking for these because it's actually solving a real pain point for them. Like they're doing it by hand, and it's costing them a lot of money, and it really sucks. And I've been there before, and I know what that's like. And so, you know, it's not a company that's just trying to get their foot off the ground. It's companies that are making a ton of money, and they're willing to pay well for these solutions because these solutions are going to save them so much time and money down the road. So thanks guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. And lastly, if you guys haven't done so already, you can take a look at my school community. We have 171 members, launched this just a week ago. And this is a place where you can find tons of like every single one of my blueprints. You can find over 100 unreleased videos on YouTube. And also you can get direct support from me, essentially with weekly group calls. So thanks guys for watching. Really appreciate your time. Have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.